In the once thriving kingdom of Ekuvonu, a single mistake has unleashed a devastating curse. Can Prince Sefu and Obasi uncover the truth and restore balance before it's too late? You must unite your people, or Ekuvonu will fall. The fate of the kingdom rests on their courage. Will they succeed? Find out now. The sun shone brightly over the kingdom of Ekuvonu. The people were happy, their farms were full of crops, and the river Olikan flowed gently, blessing the land with its water. The river was not just any river, it was the home of the mighty river spirit, Olikan. For many years, the kings of Ekuvonu had made sure to respect Olikan by keeping the sacred bond strong. In the grand palace, King Asimo sat on his throne. He was a wise and kind king, but his son, Prince Sefu, was different. Sefu was proud, and he always wanted more gold, more power, more of everything. He didn't care much about the rules of the land or the warnings of the elders. One day, the royal priest, Baba Ojin, came to the palace. He was an old man with a long white beard and a voice that everyone listened to. "Your Majesty," Baba Ojin said, bowing before the king. "It is time to offer the yearly gifts to Olikan. We must take fresh yams, white cloth, and the finest wine to the river as a sign of respect. If we do this, Olikan will continue to bless our kingdom." King Asimo nodded. "As always, Baba Ojin. Make sure everything is ready." But Prince Sefu, who was standing nearby, frowned. "Why must we keep giving gifts to a river spirit? We are the rulers of Ekuvonu, not Olikan." Baba Ojin looked at Sefu with worry. "Prince Sefu, Olikan is not just a river spirit. Olikan has kept our land safe and fertile for many years. Without Olikan's blessings, our kingdom will suffer." Sefu waved his hand dismissively. "I don't believe in these old stories. We have enough riches. We don't need a spirit to protect us." Later that night, Sefu called his friends, young men who admired his boldness. "I have a plan," Sefu said with a sly grin. "The river is full of treasures, pearls, gold, and more. Why should we leave them in the water when they could be ours?" One of his friends, Dami, hesitated. "But, Prince, the river belongs to Olikan. Baba Ojin says taking from it without permission is forbidden." Sefu laughed. "Forbidden? Who will stop us? Olikan is just a story to scare children. Tomorrow, we'll take what belongs to us." The next morning, while the people of Ekuvonu were busy in the marketplace, Sefu and his friends went to the river. They brought boats, nets, and tools to dig into the riverbed. As they worked, the clear water turned muddy. Fish swam away, and the once calm river began to ripple angrily. Suddenly, the sky grew dark, even though it was midday. The wind howled, and the river roared as if it was alive. Sefu and his friends froze in fear. A deep voice echoed from the water. "Who dares to disturb the sacred river?" It was Olikan, the mighty river spirit. The water rose like a giant wave, forming a figure with glowing eyes. Sefu trembled but tried to act brave. "I am Prince Sefu," he said. "I am not afraid of you. This river belongs to my kingdom, and I will take what I want." Olikan's voice thundered, shaking the ground. "You have broken the sacred bond. For your pride and greed, Ekuvonu shall suffer. From this day, the firstborn of every family will be cursed." Before Sefu could respond, the wave crashed down, tossing him and his friends onto the riverbank. The boats were destroyed, and the treasures they had taken sank back into the water. Back in the palace, King Asimo was meeting with his advisors when Baba Ojin rushed in, his face pale with fear. "Your Majesty, something terrible has happened. The river has turned black, and the fish are dying. People are falling sick, and Baba Ojin hesitated. And what? The king asked. The firstborns are crying in pain, Baba Ojin said softly. It is the curse of Olekan. The king's heart sank. He knew this was because of Sefu's actions. Just then, Sefu stumbled into the palace, soaked and covered in mud. Father, it was a mistake. I didn't mean to. King Asamo stood up, his voice trembling with anger. You have brought ruin to this kingdom, Sefu. You have disrespected Olekan, and now our people will suffer. What have you done? The once beautiful river, now dark and lifeless. Families in the village hold their sick firstborns, crying and begging for help. Sefu stands in the palace, looking ashamed, while King Asamo stares at him with disappointment. Meanwhile, in a small hut far from the palace, a humble farmer named Obasi watches the dark sky. He doesn't know it yet, but his simple life is about to change forever. Obasi was a simple farmer who lived on the edge of the kingdom. His small farm was surrounded by tall palm trees, and he worked hard every day to grow yams and cassava. Though he didn't have much, Obasi was content with his life. He was known in the village for his kindness, always helping others without expecting anything in return. One evening, as he sat outside his hut eating roasted yams, Obasi noticed the sky was darker than usual. The air felt heavy, and the sound of the river, usually gentle and calming, was now loud and angry. What is happening to our land? Obasi asked himself. His neighbor, Mama Ngozi, came running to him with tears in her eyes. Obasi, she cried. My son, my firstborn, he is sick. He has been crying in pain all day. I don't know what to do. Obasi stood up quickly. I will come and see him, he said. When Obasi entered Mama Ngozi's hut, her son was lying on the floor, weak and pale. The boy's breathing was shallow, and his eyes were closed. Obasi knelt beside him and whispered, Stay strong, little one. As he left the hut, Obasi looked toward the river and thought, something terrible has angered Olekan. That night, as Obasi slept, he had a strange dream. He found himself standing by the river, but it looked different. The water was clear, and the air smelled sweet. Suddenly, a figure appeared from the water. It was Olekan, the mighty river spirit. Obasi, Olekan's voice echoed, soft yet powerful. You are pure of heart. You have not been blinded by greed or pride. I need your help to restore balance to Ekuvonu. Obasi knelt before the spirit. Me? I am just a farmer. How can I help? Olekan's glowing eyes softened. Your humility and courage make you stronger than kings and princes. Go to the palace and tell King Asamo that the curse can be lifted, but only if certain tasks are completed. What tasks, Great Spirit? Obasi asked. First, the prince must confess his wrongdoing and seek forgiveness. Second, an offering of purest intent must be made to the river. Lastly, the people of Ekuvonu must come together as one to rebuild the sacred bond with me. Before Obasi could ask more, the dream faded, and he woke up with a start. He sat up, his heart pounding. The morning sun was rising, casting a dim light over his farm. Was it just a dream? He wondered. But deep down, he knew it was real. Obasi decided to go to the palace, even though he was nervous. He packed a small bag with some yams and water and began his journey. Along the way, he passed villagers who looked worried and tired. Many were holding their firstborns, who were weak and crying softly. Where are you going, Obasi? One man asked. To the palace, Obasi replied. I believe I can help. The man shook his head. The prince has angered Olekan. What can a simple farmer do? Obasi smiled gently. Sometimes, the simplest things can make the biggest difference. When he reached the palace gates, the guards stopped him. "What business do you have here, farmer?" "I must speak to the king," Obasi said firmly. "It is about the curse." The guards laughed. "You think the king will listen to someone like you?" But before they could send him away, Obasi, the royal priest, appeared. He had been praying in the temple when he felt a strange pull to the palace gates. "Let him in," Obasi said. "I sense he is here for an important reason." Inside the grand hall, King Asimo sat on his throne, looking older and more tired than ever. Beside him stood Prince Sefu, his face full of guilt and fear. The air in the room was heavy with sadness. Obasi stepped forward and bowed deeply. "Your Majesty, I bring a message from Olekan." The king's eyes widened. "A message? What do you mean?" Obasi explained his dream, repeating every word Olekan had said. As he spoke, the room fell silent. Even Sefu, who often scoffed at others, listened closely. "The curse can be lifted," Obasi concluded. "But it requires great courage and humility. Prince Sefu must confess, and the people must unite." Prince Sefu clenched his fists. "Why should I confess? I was only trying to help the kingdom grow richer. I didn't mean for this to happen." King Asimo looked at his son with disappointment. "Sefu, your pride has caused great pain. If confessing is what it takes to save our people, then you must do it." Sefu hesitated, his face turning red. I don't know if I can." Obasi stepped closer to Sefu. "Sometimes, admitting we are wrong is the bravest thing we can do. The people need you to make this right." The palace was silent, but the tension in the air was thick. Prince Sefu paced back and forth in his chambers, his mind racing. Obasi's words echoed in his ears, "Admitting we are wrong is the bravest thing we can do." Sefu looked out of his window and saw the villagers outside the palace gates, their faces filled with fear and desperation. He knew their suffering was his fault, but his pride held him back. He clenched his fists, fighting an internal battle between guilt and arrogance. Suddenly, there was a knock on his door. It was Obasi, the royal priest. "Sefu," Obasi said gently, "you carry the burden of this curse, but you also hold the power to end it. The people are waiting for their prince to do what is right." Sefu sighed deeply. "But how can I face them after what I've done? They will hate me." Obasi placed a comforting hand on Sefu's shoulder. "True leaders are not perfect, but they take responsibility for their mistakes. Show them you can be the prince they deserve." The next morning, a crowd gathered in the palace courtyard. Word had spread that Prince Sefu was going to address the people. Mothers held their firstborns close, hoping for a miracle, while fathers looked on with anger and sadness. Prince Sefu stepped forward, his heart pounding. He looked at the faces of the people he had wronged, and for the first time, he saw the depth of their pain. "I have come to speak the truth," Sefu began, his voice trembling. I was wrong. I let my pride blind me, and I disrespected Olekan. I thought I could take what I wanted without facing the consequences. But I was foolish, and because of me, our kingdom is cursed." Gasps filled the air. Some villagers murmured angrily, while others began to weep. "I don't ask for your forgiveness," Sefu continued. "I only ask for your trust as I try to make things right. With your support, I will do whatever it takes to lift this curse." Obasi stepped forward and placed a reassuring hand on Sefu's shoulder. "The first step is the hardest, but you have taken it. Now, we must prepare for the offering to Olekan." Baba Ojin instructed the villagers to gather items for the offering, the freshest yams, the whitest cloth, and the purest wine. Obasi and Sefu worked together to prepare everything, earning the respect of the villagers. The people walked in a solemn procession to the riverbank, carrying the offerings. At the front of the group was Sefu, holding a bowl of fresh water to symbolize purity and humility. When they reached the river, the water was still dark and restless. Obasi stepped forward and spoke to the spirit. "Great Olikan, we have come with open hearts and pure intentions. Prince Sefu is here to confess his wrongs and seek your forgiveness. Please, accept our offering and lift this curse from our land." Sefu knelt by the river, his head bowed. "Mighty Olikan, I was wrong to take what was not mine. I was blinded by pride and greed. I beg for your mercy, not for my sake, but for the people of Ekuvonu. They do not deserve to suffer for my mistakes." The crowd held their breath as the river grew still. Then, the deep voice of Olikan echoed from the water. "Sefu, your confession is heard. But words alone are not enough. To truly restore balance, you must complete the final task, unite the people of Ekuvonu to rebuild the sacred bond with me." The people returned to the village with a sense of hope, but they knew the final task would not be easy. Ekuvonu had been divided for years, with villagers mistrusting one another due to greed and competition. Obasi gathered the villagers in the marketplace. "Olikan has spoken. To save our land, we must work together. It is not enough to rely on one person or one family. We must all come together as one." An elderly woman named Mama Adena stepped forward. "But how can we unite when so much has divided us? Some have more, while others have nothing. How do we share the burden?" Obasi smiled. "We share it with love and understanding. Those who have more can give to those who have less. Those who are strong can help the weak. Together, we can restore the bond that Olikan values so much." Prince Sefu took the lead in organizing the effort. He went from house to house, apologizing to the villagers and encouraging them to join the cause. Slowly, the people began to trust him again. Farmers shared their crops, fishermen brought their catch, and artisans contributed their skills to repair the damage caused by the curse. Even the river began to show signs of healing. The water, though still dark, no longer carried the foul smell that had plagued it for weeks. Sefu stood beside Obasi, watching the villagers work together. "I never thought I'd see the day when Ekuvonu could be united like this," Sefu said. "It is because of your courage to admit your mistakes," Obasi replied. "This is just the beginning, but we are on the right path. The curse of Ekuvonu grows stronger, and the truth behind Olikan's wrath will be revealed. Can Sefu and Obasi uncover the secrets of the past before it's too late? Find out in part 2. The days following Prince Sefu's confession brought a sense of hope to the Kingdom of Ekuvonu. The villagers worked tirelessly to rebuild the bond with Olikan, but not everyone believed the efforts would succeed. At the palace, King Asimo called a council meeting. Advisors, elders, and Baba Ojin were present, along with Sefu and Obasi. "Obasi," the king said, "your words have inspired the people, but what if their efforts are not enough? What if Olikan demands more?" Obasi stood confidently. "Your Majesty, the strength of Ekuvonu lies in its people. If we show Olikan our unity and sincerity, I believe the curse will be lifted." An elder, Chief Odigan, frowned. "But what if we fail? The lives of our firstborns depend on this. We cannot afford to take chances." Sefu stepped forward. "We will not fail. I've seen the people working together. It's something I never thought possible before. We must believe in them." Baba Ojin explained the final task required to fully appease Olikan. "The river spirit has demanded unity, but this must be proven through action. The people must repair the sacred path, a walkway made of special stones that leads to the river's heart. These stones were scattered long ago when greed divided the kingdom. The sacred path was an ancient symbol of harmony between the people and Olukan. Restoring it would require the villagers to collect the stones from different corners of the kingdom and work together to rebuild it. The path is long, Baba Ojin continued. It will take strength, patience, and cooperation to complete. Obasi and Sefu volunteered to lead the effort. The villagers were divided into groups, each assigned to gather stones from a specific location. Some stones were buried in the forest, others hidden in the river, and a few locked away in private homes. As the groups set out, they faced various challenges. One group, led by Obasi, ventured into the dense forest to search for the stones. They encountered wild animals and thick undergrowth, but Obasi encouraged them to stay strong and keep going. Together, we can overcome anything, he said, helping an elderly man climb over a fallen tree. Another group, led by Sefu, faced resistance from some villagers who had hoarded the stones for their own use. Why should we give up what is ours? A wealthy trader named Udoka asked. Sefu, remembering his own mistakes, replied humbly. These stones belong to the kingdom, not to any one person. By giving them back, you are helping save the lives of our children. Udoka hesitated but eventually handed over the stones, inspired by Sefu's sincerity. The hardest task was retrieving the stones submerged in the river. This group, led by the village fishermen, faced strong currents and deep waters. Sefu joined them, diving into the river despite his fear. As they worked, the water began to ripple violently. The villagers stopped, their eyes wide with fear. Suddenly, Olukan's voice echoed from the depths. Do you dare enter my waters without respect? Sefu knelt at the riverbank, his head bowed. Great Olukan, we do this not out of disrespect but out of love for our people. We seek only to restore what was lost. The water calmed, and the voice softened. Your humility is noted, Prince Sefu. Continue your work. With renewed determination, the group retrieved the remaining stones and carried them to the riverbank. The villagers gathered at the river to rebuild the sacred path. It was a massive effort that required every hand. Children carried smaller stones, while the strongest men and women lifted the larger ones. Obasi and Sefu worked side by side, guiding the people and ensuring the stones were placed correctly. As the path grew longer, the river began to clear. The dark, muddy water slowly turned a lighter shade, a sign that Olukan was watching. Look, a child shouted. The river is changing. The villagers cheered, their hope reignited. Even the skeptics, like Chief Odigan, joined the effort with newfound energy. As the sun set, the sacred path was nearly complete. The villagers lit torches, their faces glowing with pride and determination. Obasi stood at the end of the path, looking toward the river's heart. We are almost there, he said to Sefu. But the final step will be the most difficult. What is that? Sefu asked. Reaching Olukan's heart, Obasi replied. And proving that our unity is real. As dawn broke over Ekuvonu, the villagers gathered at the riverbank to complete the sacred path. The air was thick with anticipation, and the once dark, cursed waters had grown clearer, a hopeful sign of Olukan's approval. Only one stone remained to be placed, the keystone at the center of the path, symbolizing unity and reconciliation. Prince Sefu and Obasi stood before the villagers. Obasi held the keystone, its surface smooth and glowing faintly in the sunlight. This stone will complete our work, Obasi said. But it must be laid with pure intentions. Only then will Olukan accept our offering. Baba Ojin stepped forward. Who will place the final stone? He asked. This task requires a heart free of pride and selfishness. The villagers murmured among themselves. Many looked to Obasi, whose selflessness had guided them, and to Prince Sefu, who had taken the first steps toward redemption. Sefu stepped forward, his head high but his voice humble. Let me place the stone. This curse began with my actions, and it is only right that I end it. Obasi handed the stone to Sefu, looking him in the eyes. This is your chance to prove your change, Prince. Go with a clear heart. As Sefu walked onto the path, the villagers watched in silence. Each step he took was a test of his resolve, and the river seemed to react to his presence. The water rippled gently at first, but as Sefu neared the center, it grew restless. When he reached the heart of the path, Sefu knelt and held the keystone above his head. Olikan, he said, his voice steady, I place this stone not as a prince, but as a servant of my people. Forgive my pride and selfishness. Accept this offering and restore peace to our land. He laid the stone in place, and for a moment, the river was silent. Suddenly, the water roared, and a massive wave rose from the river's center. The villagers gasped as Olikan's form appeared, towering above them. The spirit's glowing eyes scanned the crowd, then focused on Sefu. Prince Sefu, Olikan's voice thundered. You have humbled yourself before your people and your spirit. But true redemption requires more than words. Will you sacrifice what you hold most dear for the sake of your kingdom? Sefu trembled but stood firm. Yes, mighty Olikan. I will give anything to save my people. The spirit's eyes softened, and the wave began to lower. Your sacrifice is accepted. The curse is lifted. A brilliant light erupted from the river, spreading over the land. The villagers shielded their eyes as the water turned crystal clear, its surface sparkling like diamonds. The firstborns, who had been weak and sick, suddenly stood tall and healthy, their strength restored. Cheers erupted from the crowd as parents hugged their children, tears streaming down their faces. The land itself seemed to awaken, with plants blooming and birds singing once more. King Asamo stepped forward, his voice filled with emotion. Thank you, mighty Olikan. And thank you, my son, for your courage. Sefu turned to the villagers, his eyes glistening with tears. I vow to be a better prince, to serve you with humility and love. This is not my redemption alone, it belongs to all of us. As the villagers celebrated, Olikan turned to Obasi. Obasi, your wisdom and kindness have guided this kingdom back to peace. What do you wish as your reward? Obasi bowed low. Great Olikan, I wish for nothing but the continued prosperity of Ekuvonu. My people's happiness is enough. Olikan's voice softened. Your humility is truly rare. But know this, you shall be remembered forever as a hero of Ekuvonu. With those words, the spirit disappeared into the river, leaving it calm and serene. The villagers lifted Obasi onto their shoulders, chanting his name. Even Sefu joined in, a smile on his face. That night, the Kingdom of Ekuvonu celebrated its new beginning. The palace was lit with lanterns, and the villagers shared food, music, and laughter. Obasi sat quietly at the edge of the crowd, watching the joy around him. Sefu approached and sat beside him. You could have asked for riches, land, or power, Sefu said. Why didn't you? Obasi smiled. True wealth is found in the love and unity of our people. That is all I need. Weeks passed, and the Kingdom of Ekuvonu flourished like never before. The crops were abundant, the river teemed with fish, and the people worked together in harmony. The once divided kingdom had become a family united by their shared struggle and victory. At the palace, King Asamo declared a feast in honor of the people's bravery. The villagers gathered in the royal courtyard, their faces bright with joy. Musicians played cheerful tunes, and the aroma of freshly cooked meals filled the air. Prince Sefu, now a changed man, stood beside his father. He had taken on new duties, visiting the villagers daily to understand their needs and concerns. Obasi, though honored at the feast, remained humble. He sat quietly at a table, speaking kindly to those around him. When Sefu approached, Obasi greeted him warmly. "You have grown into a true leader, Prince," Obasi said with a smile. "I had a good teacher," Sefu replied, bowing his head. "Your wisdom guided us all." As the feast continued, a soft breeze swept through the courtyard. The torches flickered, and the sound of the river filled the air. The villagers fell silent, sensing something extraordinary. From the river's direction, a faint glow appeared. Slowly, the glowing figure of Olikan emerged, its presence calm and majestic. The people knelt in reverence, their hearts filled with gratitude. "People of Ekuvonu," Olikan's voice echoed gently, "you have proven the power of unity and humility. Your hearts are clean, and your spirit is strong. I shall remain your guardian and bless your land for generations to come." The villagers cheered, their voices carrying through the night. Olikan's figure faded, leaving behind a sparkling mist that blanketed the kingdom, a sign of the spirit's eternal protection. The next day, Obasi prepared to return to his humble farm. Though the king offered him riches and a place in the palace, Obasi declined. "My home is with the land," he said. "But I will always serve the kingdom in my own way." The villagers gathered to see him off, showering him with gifts of food, cloth, and tools. Even Prince Sefu knelt before him, offering a golden bracelet as a token of gratitude. "You are the true hero of Ekuvonu," Sefu said. Obasi smiled. "We are all heroes when we work together." Time passed, and the kingdom grew stronger. The sacred path remained a reminder of the importance of unity and respect. The people told the story of Obasi and Prince Sefu to their children, ensuring the lessons of the curse would never be forgotten. Sefu ruled wisely under his father's guidance, becoming a leader who cared deeply for his people. The bond with Olikan remained strong, as yearly offerings were made with gratitude and love. Obasi, though far from the palace, was never forgotten. Villagers often visited his farm, seeking his advice and wisdom. He became a legend in his own time, remembered as the humble farmer who saved a kingdom. Moral lesson. From the proud Prince Sefu to the humble farmer Obasi, the story of Ekuvonu teaches us that pride and greed can destroy, but humility, unity, and love can heal. No matter how small or simple you may feel, your actions can make a difference. Together, we are stronger. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Camtoon for more exciting African tales filled with lessons and inspiration. Let us know in the comments what you learned from this story, and stay tuned for more adventures from across the world of storytelling.